Hi, everybody. Thanks very much for coming to this. This is Mathematically Bent Theater. We've been doing this for quite a few years now, but we missed a couple of years because of COVID, so it's really great to be back. And thanks very much for coming. We are going to be putting on 4 pieces for you. We have a total of 14 performers, and it should be a lot of fun. And the first piece is called Equinox, and we'll get that started right now. So thanks very much for being here.
My name is Crocker, Graham Crocker. I'm a grad student in math, or at least I was a grad student in math, but that's what this story is about. I've always been good at math. I like it and it likes me. In second grade, my teacher nicknamed me Professor Crocker because I was so much stronger mathematically than my peers. Maybe I didn't get invited to a lot of birthday parties, but when I did, I reveled in the opportunity to show off my superior math abilities. After finishing an undergrad math major at Princeton with top grades and letters of rec to die for, I had my choice of grad schools. I chose Harvard as they're particularly strong in number theory, and number theory is the queen of mathematics, which, as we all know, is the queen of sciences. After 2 years, Fields medalist Dortmund Sundaram took me on as an advisee, and it wasn't long before I was getting results. A plum professorship at a top university was straight down the academic turnpike with no tolls to slow me down. In my 3rd year, Sundaram called me into his office.
Sit down.
He didn't meet my eyes, which was uncharacteristic. We always had a good relationship, and he seemed to respect my mathematical abilities.
Graham, I think you're ready to graduate. We should schedule your defense.
But I don't have my big result yet. I'm working on it, but I'm not there yet. I want to graduate with a splash.
Look, you've been stuck on the Lugalov limit points, but you can just ramify over the reals and then lift to a pseudo-operator and apply a Karachi transformation. It'll go through.
I didn't know what to say. Could this be the breakthrough I needed? But I was nervous. I don't know that stuff. I'll need to check that it works.
Are you questioning me?
Oh, no, not at all, Professor. I just think if it's in my thesis, I'd better understand it.
Trust me, it'll work. I've scheduled your defense for 2 weeks from Tuesday, so get writing. I expect a version of your thesis on my desk in a week.
I left the office in a daze and then ran into Waffle in the hall. Waffle was a grad student on the 8-year plan, though as thin as an Apple Pencil, he ate constantly and seemed much more interested in food than in math.
What's the matter with you, Crocker? You look like you have shellfish poisoning.
Oh, I just heard I'm finishing in 2 weeks.
Sundaram told you that? You ought to be happy.
I'm just not sure I'm ready. I mean, I'm thrilled to be finishing, but I can't imagine how I'm going to write it up in just a week.
Well, step 1, stop gabbing.
Waffle headed for the math lounge, most likely to raid the seminar cookies. For the next 7 days, I barely slept, running on Diet Coke and Nilla wafers. I worked day and night, and by the end of the week, I had a semblance of a thesis. I brought a copy to Sundaram's office. Here it is, Professor, but I'm still very uncomfortable with the construction you outlined. I don't feel like I understand the details.
I'll decide if it's right. You don't have to worry about it.
That night, I received an email from Sundaram.
Defense is next Tuesday, March 20th at 3, preceded by cookies at 2:30.
That seemed a bit strange. I had never heard of cookies before the defense. But maybe I was getting special treatment. The day of defense arrived. I'd gotten little sleep, still worrying about the construction that Sundaram had convinced me to take at his word. I continued to work on it that morning, but there seemed to be some problems. I didn't see how all the conditions necessary to apply the Karachi transformation had been satisfied. I was getting very anxious, but what could I do? I kept at it, trying to work on figuring it out before the defense. When it got to be 2:30, I went up to the math lounge. I was surprised to see the entire faculty in attendance. There were fancy cookies and cakes from the bakery down the street, and actual coffee. from the coffee shop in Harvard Square. Everyone seemed festive, and at one point they broke into song. But it wasn't any song that I recognized. It seemed to be in some ancient language. And most of the time, they all seemed to have an eye on me. If I was nervous before, now I was really nervous. Sundaram walked over and put an arm around my shoulder.
Graham, have you had any of these chocolate chip cookies? They're the best in Cambridge. We got them especially for you.
Well, thanks, Professor, but I'm allergic to chocolate.
Oh, I'm so sorry. I didn't know. Here. These are the Linzer Tort cookies. They are excellent. Have one of these. Go ahead. Good.
Waffle, is it just me, or are people acting a little strangely?
What? No, just happy to see the end of winter. It was a long one this year. You having these? They're amazing.
Another weird song broke out, and a few of the faculty actually started dancing in a strange, swaying manner.
Welcome, everyone. For those new to the department, I am the chair. Today is a special event. It is a time of transition, a time of renewal, a time of growth, ushering in the new, ushering out the old.
Is she talking about my thesis defense?
We are here to celebrate the fecundity of mathematics, the creation of something new and marvelous to behold, building on the long chain of creation that preceded it.
Wow, talk about pressure to perform.
And now, it is time for the renewal. It is time to begin anew.
Professor, is it normal that the entire faculty comes to a thesis defense?
In rare circumstances, yes. Come with me.
As we entered the seminar room, it was standing room only. Seated at the table was my thesis committee. It included some of the most senior members of the department, including the chair.
You may begin.
I need to use the bathroom. I raced out of the room back to the lounge where Waffle was still working on the cookies. He looked up, surprised to see me. Waffle, this is not right. Something's going on. You know something.
Okay, but you cannot tell anyone I told you.
Deal.
Well, it's bad news.
What bad news?
You're the sacrificial lamb.
What the hell does that mean?
Well, once every 7 years, a grad student is sacrificed to the gods of mathematics. This time it's you.
What do you mean, sacrificed?
Well, you've been set up to fail your defense. They have no intention of giving you a PhD. You're their offering to the mathematical gods. They believe it's necessary to keep them creative as mathematicians.
Are you kidding? Mathematicians aren't the superstitious kind. All rigorous and rational.
Well, when it comes to their productivity, not so much, I guess. Everyone's afraid their creative well could run dry at any time. They have no control over that. This is their way of appeasing the gods and hopefully keeping their creativity alive.
But what do I do?
Well, you fail. That's what you do. There's nothing you can do. And then you go into some other field. How do you feel about physics? I hear they have brownies at tea.
I trudged back to the seminar room.
Now, get on with it.
So I will prove that the bifurcated dihedral lemniscate is a bicuspid binormal tetromino. I continued, explaining why anyone should care, and then I began the proof. Initially, it went well. All the pieces were fitting together. But then I got to the part I hadn't understood. And then you apply a Karachi transformation, and voila! You have a bicuspid binormal tetromino.
Please explain why it is that all the conditions are satisfied to know that you can apply the Karachi transformation?
That would be because you have ramified. Remember, the ramification over the reals.
But the condition for a Karachi transformation is ramification over the complex numbers, not the reals.
Oh, yes, but
what?
But you said it would be okay. You said it would work.
I said no such thing. The conditions for the Karachi transformation are not satisfied. Your proof is wrong.
Do you have anything further to say? If not, we are ready to announce our decision.
Wait. Instead of a Karachi transformation, we could apply a Hiramini transformation. For that transformation, you only need ramification over the reals.
A Hiramini transformation? It won't cover the entire space.
Oh, well, of course you have to double it. Did I not say that? A double Hiramini transformation. Am I right, Professor Hiramini?
That is correct. That would be sufficient.
Oh, no! Oh, my gosh! Oh.
Silence, everyone. Traditions require that we bequeath to this student, what's your name again?
Crocker? Graham Crocker?
Traditions require that we bequeath a PhD to this student, Graham Crocker, who has surprised us all by demonstrating an understanding of the intricacies required to prove his theorem. These ceremonies are adjourned.
I stood there, stunned. I didn't actually understand Hiramini transformations. It would have been a Hail Mary, but maybe creativity is being willing to try something that others may not have considered. I don't know. But at any rate, I had somehow managed to get my PhD in spite of the best efforts to thwart me. And so I would have a future in math after all. I was looking to a long and fruitful research career. That is, if the superstitions were just that, superstitions. Because if not, I might have ruined mathematics for everyone else, and me too. Sure hope not.
What are you, some kind of humanoid?
Yep, from Earth, birthplace of humanity.
Birthplace of humanity, good for you.
What about you?
Canana Brift, small planet around Duobulus Minor.
Duobulus Minor. Isn't that a red giant?
That's the one.
Ah.
What do you have today? The special is the Dolbo Cannon.
Don't have the Dolbo cannon. It'll knock out 3 years of your memory.
Oh, give me a beer. Do you have Sam Adams?
We have Kalamala a la Zoo and Bud Light.
Make it a Bud Light.
So, what does a beer do to you?
Muddles the brain enough to get through another day.
Oh, that sounds nice. So, are you here for the Intergalactic Congress of Mathematicians or the Weapons of Planetary Destruction convention?
Math. You?
Same.
Well, then cheers to math.
Cheers to math.
I'm Philbin, Dirk Philbin.
Cruxilla morganathonamatu. But just call me Crux. By the way, don't shake hands with a barosphere.
Why not?
Well, as soon as there's flesh-to-flesh contact, they mind meld. Gives them access to all your research. They slice it out of your memory and claim it as their own.
Good to know. Hey, do you know where I can get some toothpaste? I forgot mine. Oh, we use it to clean our teeth.
Oh, there's a pharmacy, right? A pharmacy 2 blocks down from the convention center. But it is 750 degrees out, so dress accordingly. But I wouldn't recommend going.
Why not?
Well, there's a bunch of shadow beasts lurking just behind the planters outside the hotel. They prey on unsuspecting guests who go for a stroll. Believe me when I tell you that they're very unpleasant.
Okay.
But, you can have the pharmacy deliver.
Yeah, I'll do that.
So, you got any particular talks on your schedule?
Well, I definitely wanted to see that talk about the proof of the Riemann hypothesis. That's been open a long time. Pretty incredible it's been solved.
Don't bother. That's the rectopods. They announce a proof every Congress. And their culture lies are celebrated. The bigger the better. They make up fake proofs. They're very convincing, but there always is a flaw. That's part of the game for them. See how long they can deceive other species.
That's too bad. I was looking forward to it. Oh well. You know what? A rectopod tried to sell me a mini black hole. Guess that was a scam too.
Nope. That one's not a scam, but believe me, it's a good thing you didn't buy it. Try putting that in your pocket.
Okay. No black holes for me. Well, if I'm not going to the Riemann hypothesis talk, I can go to the talk on innovative teaching methods from the planet Darkling Gore.
Oh, you mean the interactive talk?
Yeah, they said there'd be opportunities to interact.
You don't want to go to that one.
Why not?
Well, they educate using a variety of torture devices. Ensures the students will never forget the material, ever. Don't think you want to experience that.
Okay, scratch that one too.
Well, what about the banquet tonight? You going?
Yeah, I was thinking about it. I heard the food's good.
Yeah, if you like Shadow Beast and stringy green mash.
Shadow Beast? The same Shadow Beasts that are lurking outside the hotel?
Why do you think they want to eat the guests, trying to get even?
Good to know.
So what kind of math do you do?
I'm an algebraic topologist.
I know algebra, and I know topology, but what's algebraic topology?
Well, it started out as an application of algebra to topology, but now it's really just about the algebra.
Yeah, that happens a lot in this business.
What kind of math do you do?
I do Drophomopoplatonics.
What's Draphanoplumics?
Drophomopoplatonics. It's the math behind the intergalactic superhighway. I assume that's how you got here.
Yeah. Quantum entanglement and all that. Didn't see any other way to get here. Earth is 200,000 light years away.
Well, Drophomopoplatonics is the math that makes it all work.
Now that sounds interesting. I'd love to learn more.
Sorry, can't speak to you about it. It's only for species that have security clearance. Humanoids are a good 10,000 years from getting clearance.
Why is that?
You're just not mature enough yet.
Well, the average human may not be ready, but I'm a mathematician. Mathematicians tend to be a bit more mature than average.
Well, I'm sure that's true, but, I could get into a lot of trouble.
I won't tell a soul. I'm just so curious. Look at me. I came all the way out here. All the talks I wanted to see turned out to be a bust. What do you say? Why can't you just give me the highlights?
I don't know.
Look, I am in it for the math. I love math, the universal language, and all that.
Well, I can't talk to you about it here, But if you want to come up to my room, I suppose I could give you just a little quick overview.
Oh, that would be great. Bartender, you can put this on my tab. The next morning, I slipped out of Crux's room, shutting the door as quietly as possible. It crossed my mind how much trouble the cleaning staff would have trying to get the yellow blood out of the carpet. I felt good about having successfully completed my task. Once again, it amazed me how naive some aliens could be. It's as if they grew up on planets where there was no evil. They never learned to be wary. I headed to the Intergalactic Superhighway terminal without even stopping at my room to pick up my bags. With any luck, I'd be back on Earth by the time anyone realized what had happened to Crux. The overlord of Earth, Donald Trump XII, would be very grateful to have the mathematics behind the Intergalactic Superhighway. I was sure to get a promotion to the Warlords Council. And now humans would have the means to invade the rest of the universe, spreading across it like a horde of locusts. We would take our God-given place as masters of all creatures everywhere. It was a beautiful day.
Ice crystals danced on the wind, blowing through the cracks between the wooden slats that served as the only barrier between inside and out. Anya opened her eyes slowly and looked out over the barracks. Dozens of other prisoners lay on the wooden pallets lining the walls. The only sound other than the wind came from Olga, one pallet over, who was sobbing quietly, as she did most mornings. Anya pushed aside the burlap sack that served as a poor imitation of a blanket and sat up. At that moment, the door at the far end of the building banged open and Captain Resnick's broad silhouette filled the doorway.
You lazy bums. If you want breakfast, you better get to work.
The prisoners pulled themselves off their pallets and moved to the desks around the room.
Get up, or you'll never get up again.
Everyone started scribbling on the pages in front of them.
I want great mathematics. You want breakfast? You write great mathematics. What is this? This is child's play. This is not mathematics. No breakfast for you. People are trying to think. It is hard enough for them as it is.
Anya did her best to ignore her surroundings. She had found over time that mathematics afforded her an escape from this awful place. She could sink into the math and everything else faded away. She distanced herself by playing with the abstractions deep in her brain. The volume of the Dane filling was bounded below by a function of the length of the core geodesic, but the bounds were extremely delicate. She was lost in her reverie when she realized that Resnick was standing behind her.
What is this?
Nothing.
Ha! This is not trash. How is it that someone has produced something that is not entirely garbage? Could this be? Come with me.
Anya was filled with dread. She had heard the rumors of what happened to those who were dragged from the room. The results became the work of the great leader. He claimed it for his own, But then the true author had to disappear so the great leader needn't fear that he might be discredited. No one heard from them again. The two of them left the barracks, passed through the gate in the camp, and entered a brick building across the road. Resnick opened the door to a small room containing a cot, a bucket, a chair, and a desk. On top of the desk sat 3 pens in black, blue, and red, and reams of white paper.
You will write up your results in the form of a paper. I expect you to be finished by tonight.
Anya stared down at the pile of paper. What to do? She could write up her results, which she had been working on for months and had always been careful not to let on. But if she did, the great leader would claim it as his own work and would have every reason to have her disappear permanently. Or she could put down some nonsense. But in that case, what would happen? Would she be eliminated for that? No one had ever returned to the barracks after being dragged away. She stood up and paced around the small desk. It was an improvement to be able to do that. You never left your desk in the barracks. Eventually, she made up her mind and got to work. That evening, Resnick returned.
Have you finished?
Yes, I could do a better job with more time, but the ideas are all here.
Bewildered, Anya wasn't sure what to do next, but soon an orderly arrived with a hot dinner with actual meat, potatoes, and green vegetables. She hadn't had vegetables in years. After she finished eating, the orderly cleared the tray. Then she lay down on a cot and instantly fell asleep. When she awoke, she was surprised to see the sun was streaming through the window. Resnick had always woken them while it was still dark. Anya saw a steaming tray of food sitting on the table. She slipped into the seat and enjoyed the food. After she finished, the door swung open and Resnick returned.
The great leader likes the work you have written. In fact, he says that he had already thought of all of it, but he had not had time to write it down.
Oh, yeah, I see.
The great leader will present the results you have written for him. You should be very honored.
Yep, yeah, I'm honored indeed.
And, having thought of the results himself, the great leader understands all of the intricacies of the work. However, when he presents it at the International Congress of Mathematicians, he wants to be sure he does not misspeak. So, you and I will go to the Congress with him. When he presents, you will have a microphone transmitting to his hidden earpiece. If he is questioned or needs details, you will provide the answers that he requires. He knows all of the answers, but may need help with recollections. I will be there with you at all times. If you are unsuccessful in any way, and this is ever, you will be executed upon your return to the homeland. Do you understand? Very good. We leave tomorrow.
The next day, Resnick arrived early and escorted Anya to the back of a prison truck, reminiscent of the one she had arrived in those many years before. Anya was locked in the back, and Resnick climbed in front with the driver. As the truck drove out of the compound, Anya thought back to her arrival there. She'd taken a national exam in mathematics, having been told that doing well meant a full scholarship for further study. But instead, the prison truck had arrived at her house, and she had been hustled into the back. Her parents sobbed as the truck pulled away. That was 15 years ago, and now here she was again in the back of such a truck. As they drove along, she watched out the back window, her first view of anything other than the compound in such a long time. At one point, she thought that maybe they had passed her old neighborhood, but she couldn't be sure. The truck arrived at the airport, and Resnick led Anya by the arm into the building.
From now on, not a word from you unless you are told to speak.
Once they reached their gate, Resnick checked them in. Anya could see that the plane was destined for Helsinki. When it was time to board, she and Resnick were escorted onto the plane first. Once the plane took off, Resnick handed Anya a small box with a red light on top.
You will be seated at the back of the auditorium. I will be beside you. If the great leader is asked a difficult question and wants you to remind him of the answer, he will push a tiny button he has that will light up the little red button on this box. Then you will tell him the answer through the microphone in the box. If he is embarrassed in any way, you will not live to see another day. Do you understand?
Yes.
When they arrived in Helsinki, they ignored the taxi stand and took a bus to their hotel. Resnet slept in the other bed, and no big surprise to Anya, snored loudly through the night. In the morning, they had a quick meal at the hotel restaurant and then walked to the venue and settled in the back of a large auditorium. There were several speakers before the great leader, and Anya listened in rapt attention. She was amazed to realize that there were others who were just as consumed in their work as she was in hers. Then the great leader rose and climbed the stairs to the stage. Anya had never seen him before in person and was surprised by how small he was. As he took his place behind the podium, the crowd gave him an ovation. He seemed to have quite the reputation. He began his talk, pointing behind him at the slides projected onto the screen. As he was explaining the symmetries of hyperbolic three-manifolds, a hand went up in the audience.
How do you know the symmetries are realized as isometries?
Anya recognized him immediately as Ferdinand Arbeiter from the pictures she had seen many years before. He was perhaps the world's greatest expert on arithmetic hyperbolic three-manifolds and one of her childhood idols. The red light on the small device in Anya's hand went on. Resnet immediately poked her in the arm.
We applied the Mostow-Prasad rigidity to the symmetries.
Yes, we applied Mostow-Prasad rigidity to the symmetries. Thank you.
Then he continued confidently with the talk. At various points, Anya knew that the great leader had not understood the subtleties of what he was presenting, but no one interrupted him. Anya knew only a true expert would notice.
And that concludes my talk.
Thank you for that wonderful talk. This is indeed excellent work. But of course, no one is surprised. At every Congress, you come and impress us with your amazing results. But now, let me open the floor to questions.
Yes, thank you for that talk. I also found it fascinating. But I was just a little bit confused when you said that the Whitehead link and the Borromean rings were in the same commensurability class. Why is that?
The red light on the device in Anya's hand blinked on. Resnet poked her, and Anya began to recite an explanation. But then she noticed that Arbeiter was staring right at her, and mid-sentence she stopped. There was a silence in the lecture hall as the audience waited for the great leader's response. The red light blinked on and off several times.
What are you doing? Give the answer.
Tell him he's mistaken. He must have misheard you. Everyone knows the Whitehead link and the Borromean rings are not commensurable.
You must have misheard me. Everyone knows that the Whitehead link and the Borromean rings are not commensurable.
Arbeiter stood up and pushed his way toward Anya.
Excuse me, but you're wrong. In fact, the Whitehead link and the Borromean rings are commensurable.
Resnet was too stunned to react. Arbeiter moved up the aisle toward them. The red light began blinking furiously in Anya's hand. She held it up so the great leader could see it blinking in her hand.
Is this your work?
Yes.
No, she is not the author. She is no one.
How do you show that the Whitehead link and the Borromean rings are commensurable?
Well, the double cover of the Borromean rings is the same as the quadruple cover of the Whitehead link.
This person is the author of the work. It is not him. He is a fraud. He has been claiming the work of others as his own for years. He will be brought before the ethics tribunal of the International Congress of Mathematicians. If he is convicted, he will be barred from all mathematics conferences for the rest of his life.
Out of the way.
Oh,
We are leaving.
You are not going anywhere. What is your name?
I'm Anya.
Well, Anya, you are going to be a famous mathematician, and you will have a job at a prestigious university. And you will be spending quite a bit of time in the Congress prison. Anya, come with me. Would you mind terribly explaining these results to the assembled audience? I am confident you would do a much better job than our last speaker.
You know, I can imagine nothing I would rather do.
The end.
John Caporiddlestan, known as Captain for short, walked into the Dirty Asymptote, a rundown bar not far from the math building, where the disreputable denizens of math were known to seek refreshment. He spotted his crew at their usual table. All postdocs, they spent their free time and a lot of their non-free time at the bar. They were noisily singing a bawdy math tune.
Was an old theorem, lived by the sea. Hey ho, a bottle of rum. She met a young lemma, so fair was he. Hey ho, a bottle of rum. They spent a long evening on topology. Hey ho, a bottle of rum. Corollaries they had, corollaries 3. Hey ho, a bottle of rum.
Captain, over here!
Hey, me buckos! To all the papers I'll never write!
To all the papers we'll never write.
What brings you down here, Captain?
I got a proposition for you. And I don't mean the mathematical kind.
Tell us then.
We got ourselves a conference coming to town. The Joint Meetings. A walloping big conference with all kinds of talks and festivities. And I'm thinking it's time to do what we do best.
Yar, Captain, making fun of mathematicians.
I'm thinking something a bit more profitable.
Now you're talking, Captain. I need to pad my CV, I do. Pad it bad. My postdoc ain't gonna last forever. We gonna do some piracy?
You got that right. So, I got here a schedule of talks for this here conference, and what we're looking for are grad students giving their first talk of their career, so they don't know much about what's what.
And we need to find the ones listed on the schedule says preliminary reports. Always says if they are.
We can find
Then we check to see if the speaker's got a paper up yet on the archive.
Yarr. And if they don't have a paper up on the archive, we can steal the results.
Yar, Captain, we steal it. We take it from them for they know what's what.
As easy as stealing cookies from the seminar room.
What's the split?
All names on the paper, but me as first author.
Now that sounds fair.
All right.
The next day, Lenora Remenora was scheduled to give her talk at 8 a.m. It was a terrible slot, since everyone was either working on math late into the night or raising a glass with friends long unseen. But as a grad student, she was happy to get a slot at all. She was nervous, as this was the first talk she had ever given at a conference. And although she had listed the talk as being on preliminary results, she had a preprint that was almost ready for the archive. Just another week or two ought to do it. At 8 a.m. sharp, the moderator began to introduce her.
Our first speaker this morning.
You seem to be sitting in the seats reserved for the top flight mathematicians. From the looks of you, that ain't you. Beat it.
So now, Lenora Remenora will talk about osculating semigroup partitions. Professor Remenora?
Not professor yet, but almost. These results will be my PhD thesis. Thank you all for coming. We consider an oscillating semigroup partition as a generalization of stable semigroup partitions.
As she spoke, the group in the front row typed furiously on their laptops. It was reassuring to see someone was interested, but they also leaned over and talked to each other, pointed at various things on each other's screens, and generally were incredibly rude. But she forged on. As she spoke, she began to relax. It was math, and it was really pretty math, so it was fun to finally be able to tell others about it. She reached the climax of her talk and gave the linchpin argument that proved her result. The bearded man nodded approvingly.
Just about as good as gold. Yar, I have a question. It's not so clear to me how you prove the existence of the double cover of the normal Goritz biregular quintix.
What a great question. You see, Twindle's lemma implies that any biregular quintix has a decatrix cover, but since we know that the quintix is also normal and Goritz, we can apply a Baburian production to obtain a double cover.
Got it. Thank you kindly. Let's go.
Within an hour, Lenora's friend Clarissa texted her.
Lenora, check the archive. There's a new preprint up, and it's got your result in it.
What?
Yeah, and it's got half a dozen authors with a lead author named Kappa Riddleston.
Oh, no.
Lenora immediately rushed to the exhibit area and found someone working at the American Mathematical Society booth.
Where do I find the ethics officer?
That would be Major Ormsby.
Is he in the military?
No, Major is his first name.
Excuse me, but I think I might need your help.
Indeed. Please explain yourself, and I will do whatever I can to help you.
Someone named Caparickle Man or something like that has a preprint on the archive, and it is all my results.
Ah, yes. Kappa Riddlestan, the scourge of the mathematical seas, one of the most dangerous of pirates. He seeks out the defenseless and steals their results. Him and his band of postdocs are a treacherous lot. Truth be told, it is better to let them take your result and find another one.
I can't do that. This is my thesis work. I need it to graduate.
Very well. I'll see what we can do.
How will you find him?
At this time of day, there is only one place he would be. On me.
Ormsby marched down the aisle into the deepest maze of the central exhibits area, with the others falling in line in two columns behind him. Lenora followed from the rear. In the distance, they could hear the noise of what sounded like a celebration. After a tortuous path through the exhibits hall that left Lenora fearing she would never find her way out again, they arrived at the Wiley booth to find a mass of people enjoying free baby wieners and bubbly. In the middle of the throng was Caporittle Stan and his gang, busily scooping up wieners and downing plastic glasses of champagne.
You, sir, are under arrest for the capital crime of piracy.
You'll never make it stick.
You must come with us. We will hold a trial to determine your fate.
Calm down, my buccos. They got nothing on me. I'll be out in time for happy hour.
I am commandeering this ballroom.
This is the trial of Caporittle Stan, who has been accused of piracy on the high mathematical seas. I turn the proceedings over to Lenora Reminora.
What? Wait, me? What about Professor Ormsby?
I am the judge. I cannot also be the prosecutor.
Okay. What do I do?
You question the accused, and you present evidence.
Yes, well, okay, Mr. Caporittle...
Just call me Captain.
Very well, Captain. It appears that you submitted a paper to the archive this morning.
It's pronounced archive.
Yar.
And how did you come to write this paper?
Well, now, that one there was a solid month of work with my co-authors slaving away on them there bi-regular quintuses.
And you are claiming that you just so happened to finish it the same morning that I spoke on these very results? Do you deny that you were at my talk?
Listen, dearie, I was at your talk, and it was then I realized that I had to get our results up on the archive, as it was clear you had every intention of trying to steal our results. Luckily, our preprint was ready to go, and I got it up immediately.
Hooray! Do you have any proof that you had these results more than a month ago?
Yes. I sent a version of it to my thesis advisor to look over. Here is the email that I sent her with the draft attached.
You, Caporittle Stan, are convicted of piracy on the high seas of mathematics. You are barred from this meeting, barred from all receptions associated to this meeting, barred from the exhibits area and all the treats and freebies provided by the exhibitors, and are barred from all future meetings. The archive will no longer be accepting submissions from you or any of your crew.
Hey, whoa!
You'll pay for this! You'll wish you never crossed me!
Thank you, Major. If not for you, I might not be receiving a PhD.
You are the one who did all the work, and you are the one who deserves to receive it. I am glad we could see justice served. And I hope others can learn a lesson from this story. You, too, should wait until you have your paper up on the archive before you speak on it. Or you may become a victim of piracy on the high seas of mathematics.
The end.